All right, this is the Geek Protagonist, and I thought about this for a little bit, and of course, as soon as I walk, the wind kicks up. Wasn't doing this before, literally, but yeah. So, Hartley Sawyer, he was an elongated man. Now, a lot of people like Plastic Man. Plastic Man kind of came back out on the scene. He was around when my dad was a kid, stuff like that. I always thought he was cool. But I actually always liked the elongated man. I liked the whole detective, the mystery with the nose, and I thought Hartley Sawyer played a very good character to be Ralph Dibny with Sue. So I see that from what it looks like, and I could be wrong if it's something more recent, but he basically got fired for tweets he did 8 years ago. From the timing I'm seeing, it was like 8 years ago. Now, I see people reading comments and looking at the stuff, and they're like, well, he should have known better. He was 28 years old, and he should have did this, and he should have did that. I don't know, people. I kind of got a weird thing. I guess it's weird, but to me it's not. I don't like this whole, let's go back 10, 8, 10, 12, 15 years, like what they did to Kevin Hart and what they did to James Gunn. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying what these things weren't bad, like what was said. But if this person, it's kind of like this thing where people are going back and finding it, and it's like for one, you can't forgive them. Now, I noticed that Grant Gustin, I didn't really watch the video talking about it that much, but Grant Gustin kind of jumped on him about how he was disappointed and how they don't tolerate, bigotry or anything like that. And I get it. At the same time, has he done something recently? Say the last 4 to 5 years. Has he tweeted, or has he said anything, or has he done anything heinous to anyone? It was the same thing with Kevin Hart, where they kept saying, well, you have to apologize, you have to apologize, you have to apologize. And it's like, well, you can't keep having people doing an apology tour or something like this. Now, I can tell you this right now. 10 years ago, I am not the same man that I was. You go 10 years further from that, 15 years ago, I am not the same person that I was. There are lessons that were learned. There's experiences that happened. I was in a completely different place in my life. And some of those aspects, I was angrier. I had issues with people. People had issues with me. You go back a little further into my early 20s, and I did some things that was jacked up. And I actually ruined, and I'll never forget this, I actually ruined a friendship with somebody because just how jacked up and warped my head was at the time. And I had to learn a lesson about who I am and what place it is. And every day, every year, you're evolving. And I just think it's not totally fair to go back. So let's say, and I'm not going to get into it, but let's just say we go back to when I was like 19 and I did something messed up, or some of my friends did something messed up, but now they got a family, or they might got, kids, a wife, and they just might have had some really jacked up stuff happen. So you mean to tell me that now that person's whole life and whole world, their job and everything should be canceled over something they did maybe 8, 9 years ago, even though we've seen it? And then people keep talking about prison reform and stuff. Well, you got to learn when to forgive. And I'm not saying it's completely within their right if they want to let him go. But now you see the thing that happens. So you got these actors and stuff, like they're now virtue signaling, sorta, or at least that's how it's coming off. And now you're getting Stephen Amell, who I've only ever seen being a nice guy, Now, and Danielle Panabaker, who I've also only ever seen being a nice woman, being accused of of being racist. Like, what? And because they didn't speak, and when they did, when Stephen Amell spoke on it, it's like, okay, he said he didn't have an experience with it, so he didn't feel to really talk about it, so he kept doing his content. And then people are like, well, no, you need to do the content the way I tell you. No, that's not how this works. They're supplying that content for you, and a lot of times they're supplying it for free. I do my YouTube, guess what? I do it for free. Now, if you start sitting there trying to tell me what to do on my social media and stuff, then pay me. How about that? Pay me. Then maybe we'll talk about if you want to do some changes. Until then, chill. But this is what I'm noticing what's happening. People keep pulling things from people from years and years ago. And I don't think that's fair. I have never seen this dude say anything of recent history. Now, somebody in the comments could correct me if I'm wrong. In the last 4 to 5 years, where he says something that's as nasty as what he said before. And don't get me wrong, it was gross. I'm not saying that it wasn't. And he was trying to do that shock value thing. Same as James Gunn. But anytime I've ever seen James Gunn on anything else, I've only ever heard of him being a very nice, sweet, kind person. And especially, apparently, a big animal lover. People have multiple dimensions. And not all of those dimensions are light. Some of them are dark. Some of them are bad. Some of them are not so good. I just don't think it's fully fair. And I'm not even hating on Grant Gustin. I honestly don't think it was cool that Grant jumped on him like that for what he did. Now, I don't know how extreme it was. I don't know. I just know that it was pointed out that he jumped on him. And I'm guessing that Stephen Amell felt he needed to defend his friend, maybe because he was catching heat. I don't know. But I just think that people, they're taking this cancel thing to like a level that sometimes I don't think it needs to be taken to. For one, if something is not recently said and you haven't seen anything of this person saying it, especially if they've apologized before, even before they got big or something like that, they're like, look, that was a different time. I was you don't know. Somebody did drugs and they might have said some craziness or done some stuff and now they're fixing their life. So should you go back and now cancel that person when you find out that they did drugs and they were strung out, or they did something wild, or they did some like criminal activity? I just feel like we're so quick to cancel, especially because like Twitter, I see that all the time where people are like, this person canceled, Hugh Jackman canceled. Why is Hugh Jackman canceled? Oh, because he showed a picture and said, hey, I think this is the goal. You see a Caucasian police officer and a black person hugging and embracing. So now he needs to be canceled because that's not the right message. So the right message is what? What? It's like every time I turn around, there's Twitter. First off, Twitter ain't leaving the real world. And I just keep seeing people cancel. And this person, well, they said something insensitive 10 years ago. Hey, he said something insensitive when he was 18. Oh, how old is he now? Well, he's 30, but he should have known better. That's not how life works. You learn lessons as you go. I don't even know what I'm going to call this, or just the Hartley thing just got in my brain. Like, I don't think it's cool. I literally don't. I don't think he should have been fired for something old if he hasn't done anything like that in the last several years, or since he's gotten to become a little bit more of a household name. And he's not. Now, like I said, if someone says something like, the reason why I thought the Roseanne thing was the right call, that wasn't 10 years ago, that was recent. And she was like, well, I did this. Yeah, but you did that recently. That wasn't you from, 2012 or something. You did it that year. So, I don't know. I'm not saying, hey, everybody needs to change, but I think this whole, we got to try to cancel everybody because everybody has this moral superiority complex. I think that needs to stop. You're not morally superior. I guarantee you, most of the time I've noticed some of the people who are the loudest with the save this or do that and and these lives matter and this and this and this, you come to find out a lot of times they're the people with the skeletons in their closet. They're usually the thing they're accusing other people of. For example, the situation that happened with the people that did the Kick Vic thing, and about how he's the worst person ever, he's all this and all that. Then the chickens came home to roost. This guy tweets out something about how POCs don't make money, so he doesn't invite POCs. So basically discrimination against people of color when it comes to anime. So I'm not saying don't call out people for doing stupid things or don't point out nothing. But at the same time, going after somebody so hard a lot of times, Tess Fowler does it a lot, you're kind of doing this thing where you, and maybe these people don't realize it, I don't know, but maybe you need to calm the heck down. Like thinking that you're starting it. First off, it comes off that a lot of you when you're doing that is usually become to see that it's because you're trying to take somebody's spot. That's how it usually sees. You're trying to cancel them hoping that you can get moved on, getting people taken off like Blake Northcott and stuff. Like that's what I'm seeing. And I love when people then on both sides of the fence is sitting there going, well, this person, like I remember there was a conversation going on and somebody was talking about something with creators and the guy tried to accuse me of being comics geek. And I broke it down to him why I'm not. He didn't respond. But then another person turns around and says, well, no matter what, Ethan Van Sciver is an a-hole, for example. Literally, that's what they said. Now, my response was, okay, so is 90% of the other writers you're talking about, because they mentioned the writer that they liked. I was like, that writer literally just said something recently coming at a bunch of people for making a choice on their country. I was like, you're bumping for this writer. How does that make that writer any different if this dude says, if Ethan turns around and says, well, you're a bunch of jerks for this. And I think it was Dan Slott. It might have been a Dan Slott that they were defending. And I was like, well, Dan Slott said this. Dan Slott also has blocked people, said this, said that. Like, how are you defending one and demonizing the other when the other ones did this to fans just like that? And this ain't even coming at both of them. This just happened to be in this example. And it's like, but people like the person, then all of a sudden they can get away with murder. So I think we need to calm down a little, just a little bit. I get it. Emotions are high. My emotions are high. There's a wave happening right now. And you got people who are upset. Hey, there's stuff Ethan said recently I don't like. And I didn't want to hear it because I thought it was ignorant. It happens. If you don't want to buy stuff from that person anymore, or you don't want to subscribe to that person's content, or you don't want to do something, fine. But I do feel that if it's something from way, way back, yeah, you could address it. Give the person a chance to speak. Give a person a chance to say something. 9 times out of 10, a lot of times when it's that crazy stuff being said online or social media or on Twitter, it's usually at a time where it was a little bit more Wild West and acceptable. Like I said, when Kevin Hart, back in the 2000s, 08 and stuff like that, those jokes were acceptable. And I think that's why I have such an issue with the whole retro editing thing. You shouldn't be taking your current day sensibilities to try to change things that happened in the past, that far back in the past when it was a different time. Guess what? Slavery happened. So are you going to retroactively get rid of slavery now and say it never happened? No, it happened. These bad things have happened. This country is not perfect. This world's not perfect. And I think all these people that are constantly, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you should never call out morals or anything, but I'm noticing there's a trend where these people are constantly doing it. And it's like, yo, there comes a point, it's like, all right, bro. That person hasn't said none of that stuff in years. Yeah, but they said it one time. Okay, but it was years ago. It doesn't matter. They said it one time. Like, you see what I'm saying? You need to apologize. I don't know. this was starting off as just a Hartley news thing, but it kind of just went on the thing of, I think people need to kind of take a reflection back. Need some Mr. Rogers in your life. I think we need to take those lessons. When I seen people getting gangsta over Elmo, talking about, you know, racism and what's going on, and people got rowdy about it, even though this is not a new thing Sesame Street did, they're like, oh, it's propaganda. I think, yeah, everybody needs to sit down and watch Mr. Rogers and kind of remember who we're supposed to be. I think that's my point. I don't know, this might be a rambly one. Whatever. Just thoughts on a walk. Just where my brain went. Geek Protagonist. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay real. And I'll see you. Hey, thank you for visiting my channel. This is the Geek Protagonist. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Please, it'll really help me out in the channel if you actually share these videos. If you like what I'm doing, please hit that bell notification. Hit it, click. This way you won't miss any of my videos. Also, there's a thing on there that says personal and all. Hit the all. This way you'll get them every time for the notifications. I'm trying to, you know, grow, trying to do commentary about what's going on. And I want to thank you again. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay real. This is the Geek Protagonist. I'm out, and I'll see you.